Today, we're going to talk about one of the most important tools any language teacher has. And it's not a textbook or an app. It's your own voice and how you use it in the classroom.
We've all been there, right? You give what feels like a perfectly simple instruction, and you just get blank stares. It's that moment you feel like you're speaking a totally different language, even though, that's kind of the point. So what's going on here? And more importantly, how do we fix it?
So let's start with this feeling, this challenge of speaking Ancient Norse. It's that sinking feeling when you realize the connection's just not there, that your message has gotten lost somewhere in translation.
And here's the fundamental tension, the real tightrope walk that every language teacher does every single day. Of course, you want to give your students real, authentic, natural language, but if they can't even understand the instructions to start an activity, then no learning is going to happen at all. It's a tricky balance. Well, that brings us to the solution. It's a really powerful technique called the art of grading language. And I love this subtitle here. It's about building a bridge to understanding, not dumbing things down or lowering the final destination.
So what do we actually mean by grading language? Well, it's pretty simple. It's when you consciously, deliberately simplify what you're saying to make it easier for your students to get. But, and this is the important part, you have to keep it accurate and it still has to sound natural.
And let's get one major misconception out of the way right now. This is not, I repeat, not about using bad or incorrect English. Graded language is 100% real English. It's just a more carefully chosen, cleaner, clearer version of it. So, how do you do it? Well, think of it like this. You've got a language control panel with a bunch of different dials you can adjust. The source material breaks it down into 8 of them. You can tweak the grammar and vocabulary you use, how fast you talk, and even how much extra noise, filler words you throw in there. Let's look at a concrete example. This right here is a classic, ungraded instruction. It's how we might naturally speak, full of pauses, restarts, and those little extra phrases. For a native speaker, it's fine. For a learner, it's just a wall of confusing sound. Okay, now look at this. It's the exact same instruction, but it's been graded. See that? The sequence is logical, all that extra noise is gone, and the message is just, bam, crystal clear. It's still polite, still sounds natural, but it's so much easier to follow. And we can take it one step further. For a class of absolute beginners, you might use a highly graded version like this. You break it down into tiny, bite-sized chunks. And those pauses, they are golden. They give students time to process each step before you move on. So simple, but so effective. All right, so now we know what we can grade. We've got our control panel. But the million-dollar question is, how much? How far do you turn those dials? Exactly. Where on this spectrum from highly graded to totally natural should you be aiming? How do you find that perfect balance for your class? Well, the source material gives us this handy spectrum to think about. Way over on one end, you've got highly graded language for your weakest students. All the way on the other end is ungraded. That's how you talk to a friend. And in the middle, you have these other levels, like aiming for the class average or even being a little challenging. And here's the crucial insight. The goal is not always to be as simple as you possibly can be. For real learning to happen, you've got to find the sweet spot. And more often than not, that sweet spot is just a little bit above where your students are right now. And you know what? This isn't just a teacher's gut feeling. There's a hugely influential theory from Professor Krashen that backs this up. It's called comprehensible input. And the big idea is that we acquire language best when we understand the message, but it also contains stuff that's just a little bit beyond our current ability. That's the magic zone for growth. Okay, let's wade into some potentially controversial waters. Using the student's first language, their L1. A lot of us were taught to feel guilty about this, but what if we thought of it not as a crutch, but as a strategic tool? So let's just ask it straight up. Is it ever okay? And the short answer is yes, of course. The real question is, when? It's okay when it helps learning happen more efficiently than sticking to English would. And the source material gives some great common sense examples. I mean, think about it. If one single vocabulary word is stopping the entire class from doing an activity, why spend 10 minutes trying to explain it in English when a 2-second L1 translation gets everyone back on track? Or if a student is genuinely upset, it's about being efficient and, human. And if you are going to use L1, here are 2 really smart ways to do it. The first is sandwiching, where you say it in English, then the L1, then English again. It reinforces the target language. The other is code switching, where you just pop in a single keyword in L1 to make sure everyone's with you.
So let's pull all these ideas together. This is where you go from just knowing about grading language to actually becoming a master of classroom communication. It's all about being flexible.
And this, right here, is the key takeaway. The most effective teachers aren't stuck on one setting on their control panel. They are constantly, dynamically shifting how they speak based on what they're trying to do in that exact moment.
And here's a super practical model of what that can look like. When you're giving instructions, you go for maximum clarity, highly graded language. When you're discussing a text with the class, you can push them a little, using language just above their level. But then in an informal chat before class, you can switch to much more natural, ungraded speech to give them that real-world exposure.
And why is this so powerful? Because by shifting like this, you're giving your students the perfect balance of everything they need. You're giving them clarity when it's absolutely crucial, you're giving them a challenge to help them grow, and you're giving them exposure to the messy, real language they'll hear outside the classroom. It's the best of all worlds.
So, I'll leave you with a question to take away. The next time you walk into your classroom, think about that control panel. Which style, your speed, your vocabulary, the amount of noise, which one are you going to start paying the most attention to?